Today we're going to be doing Module 3, Lesson 17. The objective of today's lesson is to identify patterns in multiplication and division facts using the multiplication table. The materials needed for today are your online whiteboard or your whiteboard dry erase marker and dry eraser. And the teaching style we're going to follow is where I do it, we do it together, and then you do it on your own. First, I'm going to show you an example. So what we're doing is we're focusing on even numbers and odd numbers and what the products are when you multiply them together. So if you look over here, I've got a reminder of what even numbers are. So even numbers are anything that ends in 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. So for example, if we look over here at the number 12, it ends with a 2, which means it is an even number. Odd numbers are numbers that end in 1, 3, 5, 7, or 9. So if I look over here at 49, it ends in a 9, so it's an odd number. Okay, so we're really focusing on even numbers versus odd numbers. And what we're going to look at specifically is what kind of product we should be getting when we multiply them together. So over here, I have an even number times an even number. So I did 4 times 4. And what we're going to do is we're going to look over here at our chart, which I already have filled in. All of the red numbers are even products. All of the blue numbers are odd products. So we're going to find 4 times 4. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my 4 times 4. 4 times 4 equals 16. And 16 ends in a 6, so we know that is an even number. So an even number times an even number will equal an even number. So if you were to do 4 times 4 and you ended up with 15, you would have to think to yourself, does that make sense? No, because 15 is an odd number. And when you multiply two even numbers, you're always going to get an even product or an even answer. Now let's look at odd times odd. I have an example of 5 times 5. So I'm going to go down 5 and over 5. Here is my 5 times 5. The answer is 25. 25 ends in a 5, which means it is odd. So when we do an odd number times an odd number, we're always going to get an odd answer. So if you were doing 5 times 5 and you got 26, you would know that's not right because an odd number times an odd number will always equal an odd number. Now let's look at what happens when we do an even number times an odd number. So my example here is 4 times 5. I'm going to go down 4 over 5. Let's see. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 ends in a 0, so it's an even number. So when we do an even number times an odd number, it will still equal an even number. So if you're looking at this pattern, anytime you multiply with an even number, you're going to get an even answer. The only time you get an odd answer or an odd product is when you do an odd times an odd. Okay, so when you're coming up with your answers for multiplication, that can kind of be an easy way to double check. If you multiplied with an even number, if one of your factors, remember factors are these numbers that we multiply together, if one of your factors is even, your answer will be even. So let's go ahead and practice that together. I have the same chart. I have the same reminders over here on the left of which numbers are even and which are odd. And first I want you to solve or show me an example of even times even. So I have 6 times 4. So take a moment to figure out 6 times 4. Use the multiplication chart if you need to. 6 times 4 right here is 24. So now on your whiteboard, I want you to write, is 24 even or odd? "24 ends in a 4, so we know that is even. Now let's do an example of odd times odd. I have the example 5 times 3, so take a moment and figure out the answer to 5 times 3. Five times 3, we see right here, is 15. Now on your whiteboard, I want you to write, is 15 even or odd? "15 ends in a 5, which means it is odd. Last example, an even number times an odd number. So I have the example 6 times 3. Go ahead and find the answer to 6 times 3. Six times 3 is 18. On your whiteboards, write if 18 is even or odd. "18 ends in an 8, so it is even." So just to review, anytime you multiply with an even factor, you will get an even answer. The only time that you get an odd answer or product is when you multiply by odd factors. Go ahead and erase your whiteboards, and we're going to move to your homework. Your homework is IXL skill A1, even or odd. So you won't even be multiplying. We're really just going to focus on making sure we know the difference between even numbers and odd numbers. So you'll see a question like this, is 53 even or odd? And you would look at that last number, which is a 3. 3 is odd, so 53 would be an odd number. Go ahead and get started.